in a bank than read The Great Gatsby. I haven't read Lord of the Rings, but I have tried ordering a Ronald McDonald meal from McDonald's, and I'd do it again before opening any book whatsoever. Books are perilous. Can everybody hear all right? Can everybody hear? Hang on. Cool. All right. Let's continue with this masterpiece. Things I'd rather do than read. American Psycho? Nah, I'd rather train to be a celebrant and wage a small business on officiating holy matrimony with the catchphrase, "Use may now tonsil hockey your soulmate." Clouds themselves are pescatarian, which is why I'm banned from reading Animal Farm. I have no need to read The Barefoot Investor because I believe in an interventionist tooth fairy. I would rather play a theremin with a boneless puck of chicken every day for 2 days than read On the Road. Stubbing my third biggest toe on the edge of my second best friend's father is something I'd rather do than read any single thing by Jordan Peterson. I would rather sit on my couch with chapped lips and watch half an episode of How I Met Your Mother than read What We Talk About When We Talk About Love by Raymond Romano Carver. I would rather have the phrase clown bread, he, bread clown, ha ha, a clown made entirely of bread, ha ha, Rafflecopter on loop in my head and suffer a mild iron deficiency on the day I go for my pee plates than read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Part 2, evidence. So the part 2 is just some famous quotes from famous writers. Again, hopefully adding to my argument of justification rather of why things I'd rather do than read. So H.G. Wells of War of the Worlds fame says, "In space, no one can hear you in space." Thanks, H.G. Which I believe, I was researching this, I believe stands for huge goose. The next quote comes from Mary Shelley of Frankenstein fame, and she's quoted as saying, quote, "I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 400. This next quote is from, this next one's from the one and only banjo Henry Lawson Patterson, who of course wrote the Man from Snowy River poem. And he's quoted as saying, quote, "There was movement at the station, for the word had passed around, that a guy named Gavin had a ham in his satchel, and that ham grew up to be the Musk Grimes baby." Okay, time for another quote. Oh, this is a good one. Let's see if you can guess who said this. Okay, so it goes, quote, "That's the way it's going to be, little darling. We'll be riding on the horses, ... yes. Way up in the sky, little darling, darling. And if you fall, I'll pick you up. And that, of course, was a quote from the one and only Dorothy McKellar, the poet famous for her love for sunburn. For some reason she loves sunburn. Cheers, Dot. All right, so we move into part 3 of this poem now, and it's called Reasons Why. Reasons I never read Infinite Jest. 1. For a long time I thought David Foster Wallace and Philip Seymour Hoffman were the same person. Reasons I never read Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. 1. Annoying voice. 2. Very small font. 3. Rich people wearing gloves that come all the way up to their shoulders. Reasons I never read 1984 by George Orwell. 1. Incomprehensible title. 2. Set in the past. Reasons I never read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. 1. It actually sounds pretty full on for a book whose title is teeming with alliteration. Reasons I never read Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. 1. I once saw a guy with a cold sore reading it. Reasons I never read the Man Booker Prize-winning novel The Chant of Jimmy Blacksmith by Thomas Keneally. 1. It's the literary equivalent of a white person with dreadlocks wearing pants cut from a pattern that can only be described as snow camo. Reasons I never finished reading Moby Dick by Herman Melville. 1. Misleading title. 2. A lot of yelling. 3, not raunchy at all. 4, whale murders, heaps of them. 5, too many sentences. All right, part 4. And yeah, part 4. So for part 4, I'm bringing to my sort of justification here some witnesses, and the witnesses are famous author biographies retold from my memory. Okay, so the first famous author bio I'm going to run with is, Malcolm Turnbull. Malcolm Turnbull, born, date unknown, and known professionally as Eminem. He thinks anyone can free market their way out of poverty, which makes Malcolm the human equivalent of a windsock. Cool. All right. Next famous author bio is for Germaine Granger, Hermione Greer. Anyway, Hermione Greer is an act of stagecraft in which a person changes his or her voice so that it appears that the voice is coming from elsewhere, usually a puppeteered prop known as a transphobia. The act of Hermione Greer is called being a careerist hate monger, and the ability to do so is commonly called in English the ability to throw one's voice. Okay, getting through them. All right, next one is a biography for the Barefoot investor, born December 12, 1955, was in the crowd when American President John F. Kennedy emerged from the Hotel Texas in Fort Worth, Texas, on the morning of his assassination on November 22, 1963. Footage of an 8-year-old, the Barefoot investor, being lifted on to the shoulders of his father, the Barefoot investor senior, can be seen in the famous Zapruder film, a silent 8mm color motion picture sequence shot by bystander Abraham Zapruder, which captured the assassination. The Zapruder film, kept from public viewing for many years, has evolved into one of the most viewed films in history and is now available on the internet for public access. Okay. Got a couple more author bios. The next one's for Richard Flanagan. I can't read this guy's name, so I'll just move on to the next one. The next one's for Tim Wimpin. Trim Wimpin. I'm just going to cancel the poem there, if that's all right. This poem's done. Let's cancel it. I'll move on to the next one now. Thanks for staying tuned in. Okay, so this next poem is called A Prayer for Search Engine Optimization. And it goes like this. You wash your horrid bath mat and use it barefoot straight out of the dryer. So nice. It's bin night, so there's that to look forward to as well. Thank you. Cheers. This next poem is called Castle. Don't you remember the drought and the dried up moat? The unmovable Brumby stuck knee-deep in the mud? They were probably going for the moss on the castle wall. You lost your phone somewhere on the moped. We walked around the whole thing. The pelican carcass, its diminished bill draped over the rock pile. You calling your phone with my phone? Are any bells ringing? Cool, all right. So let's read another poem. I'm just going to have a look at the comments. Cool. Oh, there's so many people tuning in. Hello to you all. Bless. I hope everyone's doing safe and well wherever you might be. All right, cool. This next poem's called Restrictions Are Easing. Good news committed to memory like a right-click and save target as. Good news, you no longer have to be a chicken to egg your enemy's Tesla. Good news, you're actually no longer required to be a nondescript prism in order to hurtle through the void. Good news, restrictions are easing, which means it's now legal to spell the word peen, P33N. Good news is you'll actually never be one of the 117 billionaires in Australia. Some other good news is you're so angry at the sun you can't even look at it. Good news, restrictions are easing, which means your next horse will be a clothes horse. Good news, restrictions are easing, which means your brows are finally golden arches again. Restrictions are easing, so get out there and be your own personal Ronald McDonald. Good news, restrictions are easing, which means you can finally earn millions from your hobby by simply having parents who are named in the Panama Papers, ! Sent from my iPhone. Restrictions are easing, so you stick your leg out the window of your luxury apartment and can't believe the financial year is almost over. It's raining. Who's keen to go down to the old mill and feel dread, you ask yourself. You look at your shoe in the rain. The shoe is wet, but the foot is dry. So many things are like an old saying, such as, you can lead a horse to a laminator, but you can't make it drink laminators. Or, the magnets on my fridge are all very, very weak, or flat out like a lizard laminating. Restrictions are easing. So, will you choose a lifetime supply of KFC or a Theremin? You stick your leg out the window of your luxury apartment like a fine wine that has aged so well it is considered futuristic and before its time, but in a bad way. The shoe is so wet and the foot is still so dry. Soft rain dampens your cardboard sole. The shoe is fully soaked, but the foot remains impossibly dry. Every morning you wake up and smash 4 shots of Yakult. The rain continues down like a news feed, puddling morose at your toes. Restrictions are easing, and they say you are what you eat, so eat the rich. The shoe gets wetter and the foot gets drier. Restrictions are easing, and sometimes there is rain, and sometimes you burn butter. Restrictions are easing, but the protectors of capital and the colony are unceasing and unrelenting, and fuck the police. You draw your leg back inside and tiptoe in the opposite direction of a lost future. The shoe is fully satched, but the foot couldn't be more dry if it tried. All right. Oop, lost my spot. Okay, here we go. This next poem is called Old Growth / High Definition. Tiny lantana clots burning. Hang on. False start. Old growth, high definition. Tiny lantana clots burning in jam jars light the way. Through the scrub, dragging a television by its rubbery grey power cord, screen down, leaf litter churns and parts, ripping the scab off topsoil. A damp cut in the forest floor doesn't appear in high definition and will heal beneath the din of galah party and breeze. We push the heavy non-flat screen television inside a hollow tree. Moths clink the flame jars, eddying low. The moon is where we most expect it. There will never be an apocalypse, you say, thumbing a quartz vein in a pebble, tucking the power cord in. There's already been one, and here's a tree who's seen thylacines and war, but never billboard, shadows chucked on streams of traffic blocking the sun this way. There will never be an apocalypse, you say. We already had one, and this is where we live now. In the city, a lever is pulled, and a crane's arm slaps the sky, lowers concrete blocks into the ground. Nearby, the last tooth in an escalator disappears into a food court floor. Our backs hurt. Televisions are heavy business. You touch your shoulder with your ear. Your clicking bones sing out. I crack my fingers, we agree. We're at once polished and putrid. A new step emerges atop an escalator case, while moonshine silvers the bark of this hollow tree, which will grow to accommodate the television. We shouldn't be here, you say. The hollow tree will grow through the television, vine and copper tendrils entangled for ages, even after the surf stacks up and Tasmania floods, or else it rises out of the sea and frisbee off into space, grazing the cheek of the moon on its way out. Here's old growth that hasn't seen power lines shoot electricity to places we'll never go. Time stopped in the walls of whalers' huts and the grasses of prison farms. Here's a tree while we wait for the fire to unclot the lantana and try to think of something cool to say. Here's a tree. All right. Cool. All right, so this next poem is called Everything Will Be Okay for Your Landlord. I want to tell you so many things, but my teeth fly out of my face at warp speed. First, heaping on the cutting board in the kitchen. Then mum says, you have to laugh because if you don't laugh, you'll always be a reverse skyscraper on opposite day at the end of a century-long careers expo. Sunbeam chucked across the table like car keys, as if. Cicadas scream because summer. Road tar softens, days perish. A Christmas beetle wrecked in the blob. A window made you this video. An empty cup suggests water. Not again. Sucrose modeming photo-assimilated carbon while the whole agapanthus wind waxed the corflute grin. You could have just said there's always a cloth getting dry somewhere. This is your friendversary. A war pocked by unexploded logos. A distant shipyard horn sounds across the slowed-down lake, hoarding milkweed in its alarm, telling lies with bunting like you do, pulling faces to prevent frostbite, as if, not in this climate. A trapped nerve and snow beneath the piano, so to speak. We had a cubby house before they built the new estate, etc. strings for long-term fibs. The thought of a diagram. What fangs out of the bracken with a head full of garden? I'll wait here while microwaved in the shadow of an atom, thanks. Flies come from nowhere. Food is hell. Clothes are hell. Costed larvae patter the linoleum like big rain. Emptying coins into the sink. Is this loud enough? The trouble with nightmaring across a field is the desire to smooch your own fractures. Too much milk, not enough cereal. The sky is splitting up like parents. Jaywalking on my knees. Am I having a go yet? Excuse me while I shimmy into something a little less knowable. I can't remember anything else. What is like eggs in the presence of hailstones? Can't shake the thought that when I smile, I'm manipulating muscles to expose a piece of my skull. All right, got a couple more poems. Thanks for hanging in there with us. All righty. Which one will I do? All right, I'll do this one. This poem's called Bad Case of the Loops. I slice open my camel's hump, and the ghosts of many lemons spring out. I slice open my lemon, and the ghosts of many camels wobble out. I crack a beer. My lemon is dead in my beer. My beer is dead in me. Things go on in this pattern. I have a camel for a long time, and we care for each other. I have many beers, and we care for each other. But then my camel is dead on the beach. I pull their head into my lap and close their eyes. I have to cut the ghosts out of my camel's hump now. I slice open my camel's hump, and the ghosts of many lemons spring out. I slice open my lemon, and the ghosts of many camels wobble out. I crack a beer. Okay, where are we? All right. Okay, cool. This will be the last poem I'll read. This poem is called No Alarms. Give the brigalos time to impersonate metal. Fold the final reminders like bed sheets. Ignore the echoes. Are you revolted the right way? Mosquito into the tidiest corruptions. Zap. Soak the stains. Ear against the wall. Diagnose water hammer. Put the email address here if you are sending a copy you do not want the other recipients to see. It's always home time somewhere, but don't tell anyone. Come bearing data. Using techniques, never live it down. Somewhere a landlord is kissing another landlord. Please clap. Consider the executive sated. Boil the kettle. Pour the tea. Pray for media rights. Oblivion coldens quickly when there is no one to take a photo. Steam, tentacles stopping in the air. Nobody actually knows how to count to 10. Fake it till you make it. Quake-happy fault lines at the edge of the whole disgusting sky. Please clap. Not tired, just playing with my 8-ball eyes. Misery during the work shirt donning process. Head hole problems before breakfast. A curse nexus. That feeling when it's Thursday all day. The best part of being stuck in traffic on your way home from work is being late to the work you have to do for work after work. Clouds standing sentinel with their rain bodies above old Guildford. The sky is about to happen. Please clap. Would you say your depression has a purpose? The air might be air conditioned, but who is ringing the bell? Ignore the previous email. This meal needs a nap. Please remember me to your boss and payroll manager. Dead leaves on the bonnet. New window wipers work. Couldn't sleep because dreams were movies that kept rewinding. Running early for once. Do yourself a favor and don't. Please clap. Do X number of things for Y number of means. Pretending the spectre of an ending, remember to send me your bank account details for dinner. Emit an electricity of unshakable compliance until the dawn of a new contract. Slurp, slurp, locomotion and food and why. False mirror enabled, so on and so forth. What is the warmest document type? What is the opposite of a chandelier? Is it fern spores? Submission without the act of submission? 10 days sick leave. A multiplicity of forces with no discernible origin. The doctors will call this a way of being on medication. Reports are due. No time to grieve for lost futures. TGIF. Please clap. Okay, and that's the poems, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. If you have some questions, please pop them in the comment section and I will do my best to answer them. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. I am just catching up on some questions now. I'm sorry if I don't see them in order. Oh, here we go. How did I write No Alarms, or what instigated the writing of the poem? Great question. So it was that poem is sort of like a composite of a lot of other poems that I never really, I guess, I certainly never finished, or sort of never got to a place where I wanted them to be. But they contained, I guess, a lot of one-liners and things. And then once I found the voice, it was the voice for No Alarms. It started off with that first line, the one about the Brigalos. It sort of fell into place like Tetris. And I was able to sort of call on some of those lines from failed poems and manipulate them. And it sort of just, it kind of fell together like that. But in a sense, it was actually a long time in the making. Some of those poems from which those lines are drawn are 4 or 5 or even older than that. Another question, leading on from Toby's question, what underpinned the choice of horror Santas in your MTV No Alarms video clip? I've developed a very strange hobby, especially in recent isolation times, of just mindlessly scrolling through free stock footage. And there's so much of it on the internet, and it can be quite entertaining to come up with some kind of keyword and then just see what it throws back at you. And certainly Christmas and imagery around Christmas is very funny to me. And I guess another layer of that is somewhere in the world people are going to the effort to film horror Santa as it was, and then going to the trouble of uploading it to a website, etc. I guess also, I don't know, the iconography of Christmas and Santa Claus in particular is particularly interesting to me. So I guess that was the choice. I wanted to sort of play with that. What is the warmest document type? I wish I knew. If anyone finds out, let me know. Thank you, Zenobia, for popping in the aforementioned horror Santa version of No Alarms in the comments there. You can go and watch it over at Queensland Poetry Festival's YouTube channel. Sorry, I keep saying a lot. I agree. A GIF is pretty warm. A GIF, though, too cold, horribly cold. It will burn you. It's that cold. GIF, though, very warm, very nice. Oh, yeah. Excel spreadsheets, also very cold. Sometimes they burn, sometimes they don't. I'm in New South Wales. Any other questions? Oh, PowerPoints. Yeah, PowerPoints are definitely PowerPoints are the thirsty boys. Is that a thing, thirsty boys? Who am I? But yes, PowerPoints are definitely they're model material of the MS Office world, if you will. Publisher, where would Microsoft Publisher fall? Especially if Excel's cold and PowerPoints are pretty hot, where would Publisher fall? Can anyone answer this question? I'm glad you agree. Thank you for validating my use of thirsty boys, a pair of words I've never used in my life. All right, cool. All right, well, might leave it there unless anyone has any pressing questions. Thanks so much for tuning in on this Thursday night. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And I do agree with Claire too that Publisher is the warmest hug. It's yeah. All right, cool. All right. Thanks everybody.